Welcome to tonight's regional news and happy emancipation to all viewers here and abroad. We start now with a story coming out of Jamaica. The Narcotics Division of the Jamaica Constabulary Force along with the Jamaica Defense Force Coast Guard between Sunday and Tuesday seized more than 1,200 kilograms of cocaine worth approximately 4.5 billion in Kingston and St. Thomas respectively. According to the police, 1,193.2 kilograms of cocaine was recovered by the Coast Guard during an anti-narcotics mission about 6 nautical miles southeast of Morant Point, St. Thomas, about 5:45 a.m. on Tuesday. During the operation, members of the Coast Guard saw a number of bales floating in the water. Further investigation led to the removal of 50 bales that were taken to the Narcotics Police headquarters in Kingston and processed. At that time, it was revealed that the parcels containing a white substance resembling cocaine. No one was arrested. On Sunday, 44-year-old Stevedore Sean Taylor was arrested and charged after 22.5 pounds of cocaine, valued at approximately 13.3 million, were found in his possession at the Kingston Freeport Terminal Limited. Taylor, who was among 4 stevedores taken into custody, is scheduled to appear in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on August 7 to answer possession of cocaine, dealing in cocaine, and conspiracy to import cocaine charges. The 3 other persons were released. We now move on to Barbados. The Court of Appeal today released former condemned murderer Omar Da Costa Holder from prison, saying his case should not have gone to the jury in light of his unsigned written statement taken while he was in police custody. Holder of Pasture Road, Haggart Hall, St. Michael, who was 25 at the time, spent 9 years on death row. In 2010, he was convicted of murdering Sakina Waldron, 20, her 2-month-old daughter Shamaya Mapp, and 3-year-old son Shaquem Gittings on March 31, 2005, by hitting Waldron on the head as she slept and then setting their Haggart Hall home ablaze. Accompanied by attorney Kyle Walks, who stood in for an absent Queen's Counsel Andrew Pilgrim, Holder said it felt good to be free, adding that he knew he had been framed or set up. Still in Barbados, visitors to Barbados for the last lap of crop over could find themselves waiting on the plane for longer than usual before they disembark. That is because environmental health officers who are to inspect and clear the aircraft before passengers are allowed to leave are upset about their working conditions. A source said industrial actions was on their horizon and an emergency meeting would be held on Monday to deal with the issues before the situation escalates. Reports indicate that the officers have been complaining about poor working conditions, particularly the unavailability of vehicles to drive to the landed aircraft, as well as the state of the office which they occupy at the Grantley Adams International Airport. We now move on to Trinidad and Tobago. High Court Judge Vahis Kokaram has granted a limited suspension on his judgment on the unconstitutionality of a law which gives prospective lawyers from Trinidad and Tobago a shortcut into the local legal profession not afforded to CARICOM citizens. Delivering a written decision at the Hall of Justice in Port of Spain yesterday afternoon, Kokaram granted a suspension to allow Parliament time to begin the process of giving effect to his judgment by amending the offending provision under Legal Profession Act or for an appeal to the substantive decision. Kokaram's decision to grant the limited suspension until October 4 does not open the door for students who are qualified under the provision to be admitted to practice as attorneys during the next call to the bar in late October or early November. He stated that the Registrar of the Supreme Court should accept the students' applications, but warned that they could not process until the uncertainty of the issue is resolved by either Parliament or the Court of Appeal. Kokaram's decision to grant the suspension sought by the Office of the Attorney General and the Law Association was also dependent on the former providing a written undertaking over the government's commitment to amending the legislation and the formation of a stakeholder committee to consider the current quantitative and qualitative demands on admission to the practice of law. And finally, a historic Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) was signed on Wednesday by the Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, UWI, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, and a senior official of the University of Glasgow, UOG, for reparatory justice related to the slave trade. A release yesterday from UWI said that the MOU was signed at a ceremony held at the UWI regional headquarters in Kingston, Jamaica. The document, framed as a reparatory justice initiative, acknowledges that while the University of Glasgow supported efforts to abolish the trade in enslaved Africans and to end slavery, it also received significant financial support from people whose wealth was derived from African enslavement. The release said that the evidence of this history of financial accrual from enslavement, particularly in the Caribbean context, was presented by a research team commissioned by the university's vice chancellor, Professor Sir Anton Muscatelli. Under the terms of the MOU, the two universities have agreed to set up the Glasgow Caribbean Centre for Development Research. The center, through policy research, will address the legacies of slavery and colonialism, such as persistent poverty and an extreme inequality in economic relations. Over the next 2 decades, the release said that the UOG commits to spending $20 million as part of its program of reparative justice, including seed funding, benefactions, and research grant income raised from grant-giving bodies. The Scottish University will also allocate resources to support the running of the centre, scholarships, research, public engagement, and related initiatives. UOG and the UWE will also work together to source external funding for mutually agreed projects. And that was all for tonight's regional news. Thank you for watching and happy emancipation.